In the 80s, we were captivated by the bright colors, sparkling neon signs, the whirlwind of disco, and the madness of the era. This time became a kind of testing ground for experimentation, where crazy action movies, absurd comedies, and thrashy horrors blossomed. 80s cinema also marked the birth of cyberpunk, delving into sci-fi, and creating youth comedies that are still relevant today. Today, I want to share 5 of my favorite films from that time period that epitomize the 80s. These movies are a window to the past, where you can turn off your brain and enjoy the atmosphere of that time. Each of them gives positive emotions, and each one is good in its own way. I recommend you to watch them all. It is a real immersion into the fun and creativity of the 80s. Special Forces Commander, retired Colonel John Matrix, has settled into an isolated mansion outside the city, sharing his days with his 11-year-old daughter, Jenny. However, the quiet life is shattered when his former subordinate kidnaps Jenny, forcing Matrix to assassinate the president. Of course, in the tradition of classic action movies, John decides to save his daughter and destroy everyone who gets in his way. Before us is the first parody action movie in history that doesn't just play with cliches, but turns into a hilarious caricature of them. The ever-present images of a half-naked Schwartz destroying everyone around him with an endless supply of ammunition become the basis of this movie. John Matrix isn't just an action movie, it becomes the epitome of every stereotype of the genre. The final gunfight carries a share of naivete that makes this movie a real treat for fans of old movies. If you appreciate old movies for their naivety, then here the whole movie will be one solid comedy for you. After the death of one of the prominent policemen, experimental doctors turn him into an invulnerable cyborg named RoboCop. He, alone, begins to fight a gang of criminals. Despite his impenetrable armor, RoboCop has not escaped the painful fragmentary memories of his past nightmarish dreams where he faces violent criminals torment him constantly. Now his quest for justice turns not only into waiting for justice, but also into a strong desire for revenge. RoboCop is an old, but still so lively and funny movie. Despite its cruelty, it is not devoid of some soulfulness, which makes it really interesting and relevant even today. This movie probably needs no introduction, one of the best in its genre. We've raved about it since we were kids, and its jokes are just as funny, and the characters just as memorable now. If you happen to miss it before, be sure to watch it. A vivid experience is guaranteed. First and foremost, when one thinks of the 80s era in cinema, the first and unforgettable thing that comes to mind is Back to the Future. You've probably at least heard of this franchise. The first installment still holds a well-deserved spot on everyone's list of must-see movies. It is not just a good movie, it is one of the outstanding achievements in the history of science fiction. It has the perfect combination of story, music, atmosphere, and scenic design. However, why limit yourself to just the first 2 parts? Because the third part stands out among the others. In it, the action is set in the Wild West, in clear contrast to the previous location's stylish 50s and futuristic future. All in all, I think that any movie lover should at least watch the first part of this franchise. The Naked Gun isn't just a parody of cop and spy movies, although it starts out that way. The main character, LT, Frank Drebin, is considered the best cop in the world. His friend Northberg is shot, and now Drebin has to solve the case of a possible assassination of the Queen of England. This movie is so absurd that comparisons to it are impossible. The jokes presented here will be relevant forever, and the movie can be watched over and over again. In it, the main character, Leslie Nielsen, creates the image of a cop who sometimes doesn't realize what is going on himself, but he is always forgiven. This movie is suitable for any company, and you can be sure that everyone will enjoy it.